Hello, welcome to Video Mania 2. I'm the man behind the counter, Duncan, and today we're going to talk about Netflix potentially taking over for Warner Brothers or Paramount potentially taking over for Warner Brothers. I think this sucks, honestly. I was hoping to take my day off today to talk to you about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4K box set from Arrow, which was licensed to them from Warner Brothers, ironically. But I was watching YouTube the other night after I watched the first film to get ready to review it, and John Campea was on there talking about, well, Netflix won the bidding war to acquire Warner Brothers. And my heart just sank. I was like, no way is this happening. That sounds awful. And I'm going to explain to you why. It seems like a lot of other people feel the way I do. Netflix is, the only reason I even subscribe to it is because it was part of the Verizon wireless deal I got. And they were like, hey, Netflix is included. I'm like, okay. I wouldn't pay for it on my own. I scroll through there and I rarely see something that I want to watch. I thought Cobra Kai was good. Stranger Things is good. I heard Frankenstein is good. I want to check that out. And some of their comedy specials are good. But the rest of their stuff, I think is awful, especially their Netflix originals, even with big stars. Not good stuff. I don't like it at all. Some of these Adam Sandler movies, and I'm an Adam Sandler fan. I love Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, Mr. Deeds. Those are great comedies. When I see he's making something on Netflix, no thanks, I'll pass. Just the stuff they make, they're just a content mill in my opinion. And for them to acquire Warner Brothers and the rights to DC and all the stuff they have, Game of Thrones, that's scary to me. Another thing that's scary to me, the theatrical window. Movie theaters would be decimated to the point where I think it would finish them off. They're already fighting for survival, and they're not helping their cause with a lot of the stupid stuff they do. I've talked about that many times, and they need to get their head out of the sand. But if Netflix were to take over for Warner Brothers and this goes through, you can forget about it. And John Campea is dead right. People complain about movie theaters, and they're valid complaints. I have the same ones myself. But you think the quality control is bad now with movies going that are in the theaters? Look out, because when it's only Netflix or these streaming services, they're just going to crank them out, and they're going to be bad. At least when they put it in the theaters, the filmmakers are like, and the studios are like, well, you better make sure it's good. If people are going to go to all this inconvenience to watch these things, they ought to be worth their time. Netflix doesn't do that model. They just crank it out. And so overall, movies would suffer. Then you have the physical media side. Physical media is an extension of who I am. My movie collection, that's an extension of who I am. I've been collecting for years, and I have a collection I'm very proud of. And Warner Brothers is a huge part of that. They do amazing work with Warner Archive from their golden age of Hollywood stuff. They license stuff out like this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles box set. They're licensing out Excalibur, but I have the Blu-ray, which isn't half bad for a bare bones Blu-ray. Their physical media division is excellent. This Demolition Man Blu-ray looks so good, I didn't have to upgrade to 4K. I was perfectly happy with this. I got it for $10. So the stuff they do in the physical media side and the theatrical side, they still take risks. They were the studio that greenlit The Matrix when no one knew what to make of something like that. It was an original idea. They put out Sinners this year. You think Netflix would put out a film like Sinners? They're not going to greenlight a movie like that. It's not. They're analytics driven. They're algorithm driven. That's not what they do. Now, as far as Paramount, there would be the lesser of two evils in my opinion, because they believe in the theatrical release. They believe in physical media. They've put out some boutique level stuff on 4K, like the amount of work they put in and special features and the artwork. They do some stuff. So they have had a history of doing stuff, and they are a legacy studio, so there are people there, hopefully still there, that understand filmmaking and understand what goes into filmmaking and are passionate about it. Because Netflix, I think they're just looking to they're going to take the rights to some of the stuff Warner Brothers has, because Warner Brothers has a lot of rights to stuff, and the Game of Thrones, and take out a competitor, the number 3 streaming service in HBO Max, which I think is a great service and is worth paying for. Netflix I would not pay for if it wasn't part of the Verizon thing. And they would become this monstrosity. And I don't think that's good for anybody, movie fans especially, but even general consumers. Could you imagine the cost of something like that? It wouldn't be good. And I think Paramount, at least Paramount Plus, which I don't have, I've never watched, but they're getting the UFC next year. That with HBO Max would be pretty damn big, but I think that could potentially be a cool service to compete with Netflix. But if Netflix got HBO Max, I don't think anything could compete with that. So it's a lot of stuff, and it would hurt filmmakers because Warner Brothers is probably the only studio that really wants to hear an original idea, where a filmmaker can take a chance and try something different to this day. And they had the most successful box office of 2025, Warner Brothers did. So this would be just a huge blow and would change the movie industry not for the better in any way whatsoever, in my opinion. Paramount, it would alter things, but it would still, I think, resemble what the movie business looks like. And I'll close with this, kind of a story. Obviously, I grew up a huge fan of movies, especially Warner Brothers movies. They're my favorite studio. I was also a huge wrestling fan growing up, and it's WWE now, but it's called WWF and WCW. And they would compete back and forth. And I watched all the wrestling events I could. And WCW started making moves to compete with the WWF, and even started a show opposite their Raw program on Monday night, and they called it Nitro. And back and forth, there was competition, and both promotions started putting out the best wrestling product you could imagine. I mean, they lit a fire under each other and were just going for it, and each week was must-see. It was a must-see television, and it was product. But WCW had started running into financial problems and creative problems, and their product suffered. And eventually, there was hope that, Ted Turner was forced out through a merger and acquisition. And this whole scenario actually involves a lot of the same companies that I was just talking about earlier, Netflix and Warner Brothers and all that. A lot of these companies are ironically tied in. But wrestling suffered when WCW folded and the WWE bought it. And I thought, okay, that could be good, because the final year of WCW, they really struggled creatively, financially. Maybe another wrestling promotion that knew what they were doing could take over and it'd be better. It wasn't, in my opinion. Wrestling was never the same. And there's people who are like, well, there's promotions now and all that, and maybe there are, but they don't have the rich history that WCW did. They don't have the resources and superstars and the production value that WCW did, and the brand recognition. And wrestling, I can't watch it anymore, and I was a huge fan, and I do miss it, but it's just not the same anymore. That would be the thing, especially with Netflix, that would be very sad. We would lose a very valuable art form. We would lose part of our culture if movie theaters were gone, that communal experience of laughing and crying or being blown away by a new movie. I've talked about this story when I went to see Blade opening night in a movie theater. That place was rocking. It was the most memorable movie theater experience I think I've ever had. It was just amazing. And for that to be gone, to just become something you scroll through, would be very sad. So that's my little story to tie it in together. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. What's going to happen to physical media in the future? The theaters, do you think we still need them? Any of those things, let me know in the comments. And I will review this box set. It's amazing. I hope to talk about that in the next couple days. But thank you for tuning in and bearing with me. And take care till next time.